Welcome to another 30 days of Sonic video on Super Beanie-man Gaming, and in today's episode we're going to be doing some rapid fire reviews of some of the 3D Sonic games. So in this one I'm going to be taking a look at Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes and Sonic the Hedgehog, otherwise known as Sonic 06. So strap yourselves in for some cool quick fire reviews of these classic Sonic titles. First up is, of course, Sonic Adventure 1. For me, Sonic Adventure is a real mixed bag of a game where my enjoyment of it can go up or down depending on the character I've chosen. I feel for the first 3D Sonic game, Sega and Sonic Team were far too ambitious and tried to do too much all at once. I mean, Mario 64, the very first 3D Mario game, just focused on its star Mario. Nintendo intentionally left out Luigi, Peach, Toad and Yoshi, all of which were playable in past games, to focus on getting Mario right. I feel that if Sega had done that and put all their focus on perfecting Sonic's gameplay as much as possible, getting its movement right, refining the levels again and again to suit and evolve his gameplay and just make it work really well and feel stable, that this would be a much better game for it. Instead, what you get are some really fun Sonic levels that, while a bit clunky, I always have that nervous feeling when I'm playing these Sonic levels in this game that Sonic may just ping and glitch out at any point and go flying through the wall or out of the half pipe that I'm trying to run through, as his speed just feels a little bit too unstable at this point. They are a blast to play through though, for the most part, with only one or two dud levels. The egg carrier stage wasn't great for me. I found it a bit too confusing and awkward, and there were a couple of the boss fights with chaos that just didn't work as well as others. Sonic's content amounts to about 50% of the game, and the rest is made up of other characters. You see, this is one big story, or one big adventure if you will, told from the point of view of Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy Rose and new characters Big the Cat and Gamma, as they go on their own journeys and inevitably unite to stop Robotnik and Chaos. Each character has their own levels and different gameplay tapes. Sonic's are the high-speed platforming with loop-de-loops and all cool moments like that we expect from the old games. Tails' ones are perhaps the most similar to Sonic's levels, in that you still can run through them really quick and you're usually trying to chase after Sonic. His are okay, to be fair, I don't mind those stages. Knuckles, however, is turned into a sort of treasure hunting game where you use this dodgy radar to try and hone in on the locations of the pieces of the Master Emerald and then press a button to dig to find the treasure. I never really liked these. I just felt that they were just rubbish. I just didn't really enjoy them, and I kind of thought they were a bit of a waste of this character, to be fair. I wouldn't really associate treasure hunting with him. Sure, the digging kind of makes sense, but this sort of mode was just rubbish, and I would have much rather seen a sort of platforming mode that's kind of like the Werehog sections, and have his gameplay be like that, where you can do combos and attack people with his big knuckles. So yeah, that was his stages. Bit disappointing. Amy Rose's missions are kind of like an easy mode, and you usually are getting chased by a robot, so you've got to try and run through it as fast as you can. Those are ones that you'll just play once just to get through them, so you can unlock the final story for beating everyone's adventure. Gamma the Robot plays like a sort of platformer shooter game, and they are kind of fun, to be fair, though they do this a lot better in the sequel. Big the Cat, oh my god, Big the Cat is where the game just goes really downhill for me. And it's just a fishing game, and it just doesn't work. It's a broken fishing game at that. It is an absolutely horrible experience trying to catch the fish and Froggy in this game, and I never really knew why they put fishing, of all things, in a Sonic game. It's just horrible, and the fact that you have to do this in order to unlock the super ending where you get to play as Super Sonic, it was just really disappointing. They were just awful, and they just didn't work, and the character of Big himself is just really annoying. Another thing that I didn't really think worked that well was the hub worlds, Station Square, the temple area, you sort of name it. They just weren't that great to explore around, and I didn't like the whole humans being around. It just didn't really work when you've got these like cartoon hedgehog and animals running around, but then you've got normal people in business suits going to work on the train. It's just so jarring, and it just didn't really work for me. There are a lot of highlights, like I said, the Emerald Coast section where you're getting chased by the giant whale, jumping on the snowboard in the ice level, just like Ice Cap in Sonic 3. Some of the boss fights are really cool. The final fight with Eggman's pretty nice. Having a bit more of a story in the game is also pretty cool, even if it is a bit cheesy and wonky with the animations of the characters' mouths. There's still a lot of fun to be had here, but I just think it could have been a lot better. And it's a game that hasn't really aged as well as it could have, because it does feel really clunky. And like I said, you can't escape that feeling that the game could just fall apart at any minute, because Sonic just goes so fast and it never feels like it's truly stable. It never feels like it's truly safe running along on this track that we put on the level. It always feels like it's quite jerky and it could easily just fly off. So for me, I would probably give Sonic Adventure 1 a 7 out of 10. I think it's a good start, but there's a lot of improvements that need to be made. Next up, we have Sonic Adventure 2, which for me was the best Dreamcast Sonic game, as it took what worked in Sonic Adventure 1, improved it, and then fixed a lot of what didn't work about it in the first game to make a really fun and cool adventure. Gone is the Big the Cat and fishing sections, which for me instantly gives it bonus points, and gone are the adventure fields, replaced by a simple map allowing you to replay any stage you want, quick and easy. So it avoids that horrible feeling in Adventure 1 where you were just aimlessly running around the giant hub world trying to find the next level spawn point. In Sonic Adventure 2 we have just two main stories this time around, the Hero and the Dark story, with both of them featuring 3 different playable characters that you will control during specific levels of the story. Once you beat them all, you get a final story and an epic Super Sonic, Super Shadow boss fight, which, thanks to the track Live and Learn, is one of my favourite moments from the series. It's just an absolutely spectacular endgame boss fight. Brilliant. For me, Sonic Adventure 2 is a more confident and stylish game with some really fun and memorable levels, with some really cool moments and set pieces sprinkled into some of the levels, along with some awesome music to back it all up. Particular highlights from the Sonic and Shadow gameplay are the City Escape level, Metal Harbour and the Jungle levels. There are a few problems, mainly with the grinding, a new feature in this game, being a little bit tricky and clunky, and it really rears its ugly head later on when the stages get harder with more bottomless pits and insta-death moments thrown in. It can make it quite frustrating, especially that final rush level. Tails this time round is sadly confined to a giant mech robot, as is Robotnik, who you play as in the Dark story. Yep, that's right, you get to play as Robotnik in this game. Oh my god, that was absolutely mind-blowing that you got to play as the bad guy in a game of Sonic. It was so cool, and the shooting and platforming action of the mechs is pretty fun, to be honest. I was always a fan of it, and I think the Adventure 2 version is better. It's really fun, especially when you chain targets together to unleash a big missile combo. It's a shame that Tails can't fly out and move around outside of the mech, but I still feel these levels work really well, and it's a nice contrast to the speed nature of the Sonic levels. Again, they are more refined and a more confident version of the Gamma stages from Sonic Adventure 1. Now for the bad part of the game, the Knuckles and Rouge the Bat Treasure Hunter sections, which keep that classic Treasure Hunter gameplay from Sonic Adventure 1. However, it's somehow worse and more broken in this game. The hint system that you get on the monitors to give you clues as to where the pieces of the Master Emerald, which has broken again. Jesus Christ, Knuckles, you're just useless, aren't you? are just really vague and can make it really confusing as to where you've got to go. There's a level later on in sort of space, and you have to jump on these different planets, and the gravity of the worlds pulls you in, and oh my god, it's an absolute nightmare to try and find the pieces. And the radar sort of beeping just seems to just beep whenever it likes, and never really sort of easily pulls you into where the pieces are. It's just absolute bullshit at times, and they just feel like a bit of a time waste, like you're just aimlessly running around the level until the game just decides you've been here long enough, and it will eventually just show you where the pieces are. I never really liked these levels. They kind of just ruin Knuckles, and in Sonic Adventure 2 they are definitely the cat levels of this game, in that they just suck. Oh, and the Chow stuff returns from Sonic Adventure 1, so you get to look after a Chow, which is kind of like a Tamagotchi pet, and you can collect these capsules in the level that will allow you to feed it and give it various stat boosts. I was never really a fan of the Chow, just like the fishing. I didn't really think it was what you would want in a Sonic game. It's a perfectly cool little mini game, but for me, it just didn't really hold my interest, so it wasn't really something that I did quite a lot. Because it's not what you'd want from a super fast Sonic game. But overall, this game is an absolute blast, and I always replay the first level, Metal Harbour, and the final stage every time I want to play Sonic Adventure, because it's just brilliant. 9 out of 10. Next up is Sonic Heroes, which was the first multi-platform Sonic game that Sega made after exiting the console business. So this was one that I played on my PS2, and to be honest, I did really like it at the time. But looking at it now, you can definitely see it has its fair share of flaws. My favourite thing about this game is that it took Sonic back to its retro roots, as this was, at the time, the closest we got to a 3D version of Sonic 1, 2 or 3. They simplified the story in this one and made it much more bright and cheerful, like a Saturday morning cartoon, and they went back to the sort of similar zone and act setup of the classic Mega Drive games, instead of this like adventure field and a focus on realistic cities. The zones themselves look like they would fit in the classic games. You've got Seaside Hill, which is pretty much an Emerald Hill kind of level. You've also got a casino one and a sort of metropolis sort of city sort of level that could easily fit in those past games. Sadly though, the gameplay of Sonic Heroes goes in a completely different direction with this team-based gameplay, and for me, the game is all the worst for it. You see, in this game, each of your 3 team members are on screen at the same time, and you switch between them via a button press. Sonic is your speed character, so naturally he runs fast and kind of plays like he did in Adventure 1 and 2. Knuckles in this game is the power character, so you don't have to hunt treasure anymore, which is brilliant. So in this game, he can run and jump fairly fast, but his main thing is that he uses Sonic and Tails as gloves and can punch enemies. Yeah, that's a bit weird and jarring when you first see it, but yeah, he's the sort of combat character. Tails in this game is the flight character, and unfortunately, when you switch to him, he will always be flying and just instantly holding the other characters up in the air, and I really hated this. I mean, Knuckles can run around as normal, so why can't Tails? Why is Tails always flying when you switch to him? It just really aggravated me, because I wanted to be able to move around normally as Tails and not just have him as literally the character who flies. Essentially, the levels were designed to make you have to switch between the 3 different types in order to progress, with paths only being able to cross by one particular character. So it was only like one path you could go through with that one, though there were branching routes allowing you to sort of mix and match what you were doing. But even though it worked to a degree, I never really felt like it was that great, and with enemies having massive health bars, the combat in the game was just an absolute slog to get through, so Knuckles became quite annoying because they just wouldn't die, those enemies. You were better off throwing people at him with Tails. Again though, like in Sonic Adventure 1, I feel like they tried to do too much at once here, especially when you think about them going multi-platform and have to make games for PS2, GameCube and Xbox for the very first time. I think they just tried to do too much. Because You had Team Sonic, Team Dark, Team Rose, and Team Chaotix, which was pretty cool, though unfortunately they left out Mighty the Armadillo. So that's 12 playable characters in a single game, each with their own levels and story. That's just way too excessive. They didn't need to go that big in this game. Again, just focus on Team Sonic and get that right. And to be honest, whenever I replay Heroes, I always go as Team Sonic anyway, because that's the classic group. It's cool to play as them three and see them all together. So yeah, I'll just do that. Unless I want to do a run where I get all the Chaos Emeralds to get the final part of the story unlocked, because you'll just do Team Rose then, because her levels are much easier and the special stages are a lot easier in that one, because the Sonic 2 style special stages in this game are just absolutely bullshit if you play as any other team. So yeah, Heroes is a fun adventure, but it does feel a bit like a gimmicky sort of game with this gimmicky team mechanic, and it's not one that's really very well thought out and implemented, but the classic feel and design of the characters and zones does make up for it somewhat, but that casino stage physics just suck ass. So for me, I'd probably give this a 6 out of 10. Next up we have Sonic the Hedgehog, or Sonic 06 for the PlayStation 3, as it's more well known. Now this was the first next-gen game of Sonic on the PS3 and Xbox consoles that would coincide with Sonic's 15th anniversary. And as you probably know if you've been on the internet and searched Sonic, this game was an absolute letdown, full of bugs and glitches that just really ruin your experience. This game was just, quite frankly, unfinished and definitely unpolished, and it just was just really disappointing. Sonic looks really weird in this game. They stretched him out to try and make him look older, and it just doesn't look right. He looks like a human in a Sonic costume running around, and he even has unfinished animations when you bounce off boost pads. There's just no animation there, and it looks really weird, and it's just full of glitches. You can't even go up a loop-the-loop half the time without you falling through it, and when they can't even get that right, you know this Sonic game has just failed. There's just so many things you could say about this game that have already been said by other YouTubers, but yeah, it's just a disappointing title, and it was a Sonic game that I only played once. After completing it for the first time, I had no desire to go back through it again, because it would mean I would have to suffer through the really long loading times, the annoying hub worlds that returned in this game, so it kind of feels like Sonic Adventure 3, but it's not quite. The terrible physics with Silver the Hedgehog, a new character with psychic abilities, and these awful wonky physics puzzles that are just terrible. Shadow the Hedgehog even has a appearance in this game, and he's just terrible. The vehicle sections in Shadow were just shite. It's just not a good game. It's a very, very disappointing game. The only really good thing I'd probably say about it is that it has some really nice animated cutscenes. But again, like the other games, I feel like they tried to do too much here. However, when in past games they kind of got away with it and still released a pretty good package that was still fun to play, I think it did actually catch up with them here, and they were caught with their sort of pants down, as this was kind of a turning point for Sonic games really, where they just started to go downhill. And it was really sad to see, because I was definitely hyped for this game. The early trailers where they showed the day and night cycle and him running really fast through some like woodland area, it did look really cool. And there are some fun moments to be had, but there's a lot of frustrations to be had here, more than fun times. Through horrible boss fights like that thing in the Colosseum, the annoying silver fight that can just get you in an endless loop of just death, the horrible Mac speed sections where Sonic is just basically automatically running into the screen and you've got to try and awkwardly steer him through a level, just don't work. They are just awful to play as. It just, it's just shit. It's like a really bad version of Sonic Adventure where you play as 3 hedgehogs and only one of them is marginally good and the other 2 are just weird, and even that good one has this weird sort of human hedgehog relationship with this girl that's just kind of weird and doesn't work right. They tried to turn her into like Princess Peach, but that works for Mario because he's a human. It doesn't really work for Sonic. So I would give Sonic 06, well, considering I've only played it once and that was enough, I think I'd give it a 3 out of 10. Yeah, it was very disappointing, this one. Oh, and some of the music was actually good as well. That and the CG cutscenes are probably the best bits. So I think that's enough Sonic games reviewed for this episode. Thank you very much for watching my rapid fire reviews of Sonic Adventure 1, 2, Sonic Heroes and Sonic 06. Be sure to check out a future video on 30 Days of Sonic for some more rapid fire reviews where I'll be looking at Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors, Generations and the newest title, Sonic Forces. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.
I'm Sonic the Hedgehog, and you're watching 30 Days of me, Sonic, on Super Beanie-man Gaming.